Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thanks so much for joining me. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to the channel and check out the other videos. And if you're here for a second, third, or fourth time, thank you so much for coming back and getting creative. Alright guys, this is going to be a fun, simplified painting. So grab your supplies, transfer your traceable to your surface, and as always, make sure you take your progress photos. Now I went over my traceable with a black Sharpie marker for those of you at home that are going to pause the video and draw what you see. So we're going to be starting in the background. We're starting with a light yellow, white, and yellow. We're using the medium or large flat brush. And we're going to kind of build up the area, kind of going in between the branch, and then we're going to put a little border of white. Super exciting, putting white on a white canvas, but a little border of white, and then we're going to a light blue. And we put that border of white so that way we can mix the light blue into the white and not the yellow, because if we mix yellow and blue, what color do we get? That's your question for today, so leave a comment if you know what the answer is. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo, and then we're going to move right along. We're going to use light raw sienna with yellow, so that's white and raw sienna, and then a little bit of yellow to kind of warm it up. Now I am using student grade paint, so it is a bit on the transparent side, so we will be doing 2 layers on quite a few of the areas today. So if you happen to be using thin paint as well, don't worry too much about your brush strokes showing up or seeing through it. We're just we're gonna do a second layer, and it'll look so much better after that second layer. So you saw a moment ago that we moved into the raw sienna, and then we moved into the raw sienna with a little bit of black and filling in that space. And again, you can see that a little bit of the darker black paint goes a long way. And we're grabbing that direct black, slapping it on there, and then blending it in. And when you're doing your blending, this is called wet on wet blending. You want to use a light pressure. And sometimes if you hold your brush at a 45-degree angle to the canvas, it'll make less of your brush strokes show up. But like I said earlier, since we're doing 2 layers on this, don't get too obsessed with your brush stroke mark making right now. More importantly, just to kind of get this underpainting and the coverage done. And this is a Dali Persistence of Time painting, and I have simplified it for my beginner painters. If you are a first-time painter, this is not a painting I would recommend that you start with. Try some of my easier paintings, and then work your way up to something that's a little more intense, a little more detail-oriented like this one. All right, so another place to pause your video, take a progress photo. We're moving right along. We're taking that raw sienna, filling in the box on that left-hand side, and then just like in the ground, we'll be adding a little bit of yellow and a little bit of black for some variation. Again, just getting this first color, first layer underpainting on our canvas. And as you move along for this video or any of my videos, you're going to be strengthening your power of observation. So feel free to pause the video at any time that you need, rewind it, go back to certain areas, but go at your own pace. You do not have to go as fast as the video. In fact, please do not go as fast as the video. It is sped up. All right, so moving into that yellow and raw sienna, moving into the mountain in the back. We do keep a rather simple color palette for this. We've got our primary colors with raw sienna and black. And then same thing, little raw sienna and black for some details on the mountains. And again, some white for the highlights. And as you're doing a lot of this blending, you're going to notice a little bit of pigment goes a long way. All right, so moving into a light blue. It's almost white for that kind of mirage, mirror reflecting water element in the background. Dali was a surreal painter, so he painted a lot from his imagination, and he's one of my favorite artists to look at his work. All right, so making a light pink, white plus a little bit of red, and then a tiny bit of yellow to kind of warm it up. And this is going to be a slight kind of fleshy tone for the weird object line on the ground with the eyeball. And again, like I said, this is a simplified version of the original. So if you do pull up the original painting and you notice stuff that I do not put in or that I simplified and you want to add it to your painting, by all means, add it to your painting. So we added just a touch of black to that pink mixture to go for that grayish pink. And again, observe kind of the general place that I put each of these colors and mimic that to the best of your ability on your canvas at home. Again, this is for first time and beginner painters, so be kind to yourself. Remember to breathe and relax. You might not realize it, but you might be holding your breath as you go along painting. That is not to your benefit, so relax and breathe when you remember to. And here we added some white in there to do a little bit of highlighting. Again, just observe the general place and mimic that to the best of your ability. Strengthening your power of observation is a core foundational art skill. So now moving into that light gray, we're filling in the clocks. We'll be doing a few different shades of gray, a light gray, medium, and darker gray with some white highlights in there. All right, coming along nicely. Going to move into that medium gray, and that's again just adding a touch more black to the mixture that you were using. And observe where it's placed, and then to the best of your ability, mimic that on your canvas. So after I place some of that dark gray, I do tend to wipe off the brush and then go back and kind of blend that into the base color. And here, getting the colors for the branch on there. We will be doing a second layer and making it stand out a little bit more on round 2. And going back to our dark raw sienna for some shadows. And as we paint, and as you follow along with a lot of my videos, you will notice that we kind of try to hit 3 shades. We try to go for the main color, then the shadow element, and then the highlight element. All right, so making yellow and red to make our orange for the last watch there in that bottom left-hand corner. And then a little bit of black, slap it on there, wipe that brush off, and then kind of smush that darker color into the base. Again, getting your basics for blending. All right, so last thing, that light gray for that element back in the corner, and we should almost be almost to our complete underpainting. I think there's a few elements on the clock that we need to add, and some reflecting into the water with that light raw sienna. And then medium gray, there we go, for the clocks. And then we are at what we call our underpainting. So pause the video, take your progress photo. I did get a fresh plate and I fully let this dry before we put our second layer. And we're basically going to repeat that. So we were using our raw sienna with a little bit of yellow. And it is pretty cool once we start getting that second layer on there, just how much better it looks. So again, for my beginner painters, using student grade paint or using your cheaper paint that don't have great coverage, doing 2 layers is to your benefit. So now I'm moving that raw sienna mixture with a little bit of black, reapplying the shadows. And here you'll see I do tend to hold that brush at that 45-degree angle and use the side of the brush instead of the end of the bristles. And that helps me kind of keep it a little bit more smooth so my brush strokes don't show up. If your brush strokes are showing up on yours and you like that, embrace it, go for it. If you don't want your brush strokes showing up, that 45-degree angle, light pressure will help you keep a little more smoothness in your paint. Again, this increases your comfort level each time that you paint, and you'll get more comfortable with blending. You'll get better at blending each time you do this. So moving back into that raw sienna and yellow for the box in the left-hand side. Again, just looks so much better with that second layer on top of it. And going back to that dark raw sienna, adding a touch of black and some shadow elements. And I recommend to all my students, as you're painting, get in the habit of getting out of your chair and looking at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away. This is the normal viewing distance for things in life, and especially artwork, and we tend to like stuff better from a distance. So by getting in the habit of doing that while you create, looking at it from the vantage point that the viewer is going to look at it and adjusting anything you may need to um, from that point will help your process. Trust your instincts as you are painting. They are leading you in the correct direction you need to go. So we just added some yellow highlights, and now we're going to move into some light yellow, and that is yellow and white. Moving back up to the second layer on the mountain, ended up covering it completely. And then we'll go back and add our dark raw sienna, the little bit of the shadow element. And same thing as the first layer, we're going to place it on there, wipe that brush off, and then go back and kind of squish it into the base. Same thing with the highlight, slap some of that white on there and then go back and kind of squish it in. It does not have to be perfect. It's amazing how much better it looks when we look at it from a distance and how our eye blends in some of the areas. All right, so going for that grayish color, reapplying the branch and then taking the black, doing the same thing for the shadow element, placing it on there, wipe that brush off, and then go back and you can kind of blend it in. And then same thing for the white. You guys are doing great. Take this at your own pace. Have fun. You're learning something each time that you paint. Now going into that medium gray for our clocks and a little bit of black for the dark gray for the shadows. We'll be doing this with each of the clocks. So light gray, medium gray again. Kind of more the light gray for the face of the clock, the medium gray for the perimeter of the clock and the dial on the top. And then now doing a yellow and raw sienna, and that third clock on the box that's warped a little bit, it has more of a gold outline to it. So that's why we did our yellow and raw sienna. Again, if you need to do 2 coats on this, go right ahead. And going back to the yellow and red mixture, making this a bit more of a reddish orange for the clock that's closed in that bottom left-hand corner. Putting that second layer on, and then going in with some direct red, a little bit of the blending, slapping it on there, wipe the brush off, and then blend it in. And then going into black. And here you'll definitely want to pause your video, turn your canvas sideways if you need to. We're getting the numbers and the arrows on our clocks. And again, this is a surrealist painting, so nothing is exact. So kind of notice the direction, the change in the angle, the way the numbers might be warped a little bit. And again, just mimic that to the best of your ability. This is part of what kind of creates that surrealist effect by having these recognizable elements in there. And then we have the little eyelashes on this weird face figure thing on the ground. Use light pressure, and if you're finding that your brush is shaky as you're making some of these lines, exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas. You're doing great, and you can even paint this 2 or 3 times and you will see your skills improve each time that you paint it. So perfection in painting is overrated. Just do a little bit better than the last time you painted. That's what you should be judging yourself on. All right, and the raw sienna had a few little elements on that back rectangle, that back square, little shadow elements on there. And I think we'll be doing a few, some white highlights. Again, just kind of observe where I place them or observing the original painting and where they are. So proud of you guys for painting. Again, take this at your own pace. Try to find creative outlets on a regular basis for yourself because your skills will get better and continue to improve. Oh, last step, using black for the little impression of the ants that Dali used to paint in most of his paintings. That's what those elements are. Again, great job, you guys. Thanks for taking time out of your day to hang out with me and get creative. And until next time, cheers. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the process of painting and I hope you are happy with how your paintings turned out. I'm really proud of you for getting creative. As you're uploading these to social media, please tag me at or hashtag paintwithlovejoy or email me your pictures paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com. I really enjoy seeing them. I try to post them on social media to encourage other beginner painters to try the process of painting. But please share this with your community as well. Anybody who is kind of scared to paint, share your experience with them and let them know kind of how much you benefited from it and how much you enjoyed the process. So kind of share the fun. With that being said, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, things that you want me to paint in the future, please leave a comment. I try to respond to everybody as quickly as I can. And any of the future suggestions for paintings, I add that to my production list and get to them as quickly as I can. So in the meantime, please keep getting creative. Let me know how you're doing. And until next time, cheers.